Tide pools. My lab is a messy, sterile extension of my mind. But the beach, that's where the real work happens. So when I found the first one, I didn't think much of it. It was on a stretch of beach I thought was still pristine, a hidden cove I'd been visiting for a decade. The sand was white, the water clear. And then there were these stones. Not rocks, not pebbles, but something new. They were beautiful, really. Smooth, rounded, a mosaic of algae green and charcoal gray, with an unnatural, almost crystalline glint under the sun. I picked one up. It felt strange. Too light for a rock, too hard for anything biological. It was a beautiful horror, and I had to know what it was. Back in my lab, under the sterile light of the microscope, the beauty shattered. The stones weren't stones at all. They were a bizarre new hybrid, a marriage of life and death. The green was algae, desperate to find a surface to cling to. The unnatural glint was plastic. My God, it was everywhere. Microscopic fragments of plastic were the skeleton of this new life form. The algae had used the ubiquitous garbage as a scaffold, creating something new and terrifying. I named it lithopollutants, the polluted stone. My mind went straight to the bottom of the food chain, where all the energy begins. I collected samples of the zooplankton, the tiny floating organisms that feed on the algae. The lab results came back, and my heart sank with every data point. Their little bodies, the very foundation of the ocean's life, were riddled with the same microscopic plastic fibers. They were full, but not with nutrients, with poison. It was a horrific realization. The pollution wasn't just floating on top of the water, it had been assimilated into life itself. I visited Old Man Regu, a fisherman whose face was as weathered as the cliffs. He'd fished these waters since he was a boy. He didn't understand the science, but he knew the truth in his bones. "The sea has no taste anymore, miss," he said, his voice a low rumble. He told me the fish were getting smaller, harder to find. He spoke of the strange, gritty stomach stones he sometimes found in the fish he cleaned. My blood ran cold. The plastic wasn't a new problem. It had been silently, incrementally poisoning the ecosystem for years. I spent the next week running tests following the trail of plastic up the food chain. The zooplankton were eaten by small fish. The small fish were eaten by bigger fish. With each step, the concentration of plastic increased exponentially. The process has a name, biomagnification, but a scientific term doesn't capture the horror of it. I'd started with a beautiful stone, and now I had proof that the tuna we eat, the salmon we call healthy, are just a step or two away from being plastic delivery systems. I went back to that same cove, the one I thought was pristine. The waves still rolled in, a ceaseless, hypnotic rhythm. I picked up one of the gilded stones again. It was no longer a mystery. It was a tombstone, a monument to our failure. It wasn't the oil spills or the chemical sludge that had broken the ocean. It was this quiet, insidious poison that had become a part of the very fabric of life. We didn't just pollute the ocean, we rewrote its biology, and there is no coming back from that.